Hello, I'm Commissioner Christy McCormick with the Election Assistance Commission. March is Women's History Month, and as a part of the EAC's recognition of this month, I'm interviewing women leaders in elections about their experiences in the field serving voters across the country. Today, I'm pleased to speak with Gema Howell, who is an IT security engineer at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. Good morning, Gema. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Commissioner McCormick. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. It's been a long time since we've seen you
I
in
know.
face to face, but we can say that we are past the VVSG now,
Woo!
which is exciting. So thank
Yes.
you for all your work on that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. So hopefully we'll see some good success out of it going forward. But
Oh, definitely.
thank you for all
Definitely.
your work on that. So to celebrate this month, I'm just asking women leaders some questions about their career. And I'd like to start with this one. How did your career in public service begin?
Yeah, well, while I was finishing up my bachelor's, I had the opportunity to work with a team to uh, develop an application to help first responders, in particular firefighters, deploy resources. I presented my research in that application at a conference, and that's where I was offered the opportunity to continue doing similar work at NIST, or the National Institute of Standards and Technology. I'll keep saying NIST to keep it short.
Yeah, that's fine. I
But
think we
yeah,
all know it as NIST anyway.
yeah, yeah. So after I graduated, I started an internship at NIST, and initially they wanted me to look into another tool that would help first responders. They saw the value in the work that I did, and then eventually they offered me the opportunity to come on as a full-time employee, which was great, coming right out of school. And along with the full-time position, they also offered me the opportunity to continue my research. Uh, my research in helping people with a vital mission, but folks that may not have the resources to find the solutions to some of their challenges, which is very big for me, especially in choosing the types of projects I want to work on. So along with continuing to do work to help first responders, that's also how I got involved with the voting team at NIST. So I saw that this was a space where, there's the chance to support a community with a very vital mission, to maintain our democracy and ensure people have the opportunity and ability to vote. And so that's pretty much my story of how I got into it all.
Well, that's pretty amazing to go from first responders to voting. Are you still working with the first responders
I
work?
am. I
Yeah.
am. I am. I was very specifically on their use of mobile devices and IoT devices, but seeing a lot of engagement with the community and understanding what specifically they're looking for, which is a lot of fun for me.
That's great. So what are some of the notable industry changes you've seen since the beginning of your career, in voting or otherwise?
Yeah, so many. I work in the cybersecurity space, so every time there is a change in technology or circumstance, we're always looking into how that impacts, um, not only folks' capabilities or maybe convenience and ability to use technology, but also how that changes the threat landscape. And so, yeah, an example of some general technology changes is the boom in IoT devices and connected devices, and that
Mhm.
shift from that shift in being able to manage all those devices. Also, another example is our current transition from 4G to 5G. I also want to give an example of a circumstance which I think is very relevant, which is what happened with the pandemic, and the need for people to have the technology and capability to work remotely.
Mhm.
In elections, that meant people taking advantage of the the alternative opportunities, I'm sorry, alternative ability to vote by mail in some cases. So, that's definitely a big change that happened within the last year that I can think of.
And what are some of the changes or initiatives that you've implemented in your career?
We certainly talked about one earlier, so I'll go with that one. Over the past few years, NIST has been working on the VVSG 2.0 requirements, which are now available, woohoo, and approved.
Yeah. Long road.
Yeah. And our goal there was to really sit down and bring the VVSG up to present day technology, and that's not only security wise. So even thinking about different things specific to elections, whether that be software independence or new auditing methods, such as risk limiting audits, and also looking into the future. So things like end-to-end verifiable voting systems and what that might look like.
Yeah, we're hoping to see some innovation. I mean, it's been such a long time since those standards were updated that technology has changed tremendously in the last 10 or 15 years, and it'll change again in the next 10 to 15 years. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. And,
same here.
Yeah. So what advice would you give as a woman in elections do you have for other women who may be interested in a career in public service or cybersecurity and technology?
I'd say, for everything, there are different avenues. Whether you decide to go into elections is a big space with many opportunities. Same thing for cybersecurity. You can touch a lot of different areas. For example, like we talked about earlier, I think about cybersecurity specific to first responders, but also what does that look like for election officials? And so, figure out what area you want to work in, whether that be cybersecurity of a particular system or to help a specific group. Usability and accessibility is another area. So really try to, not to say that you can't tackle it all, but try and figure out what specific area you want to work in. In thinking about elections, I do want to talk about women who are interested in elections. It can be a very intimidating space with folks who have just been doing this for years, and they know they know so much more, and they've been very involved. But I think a few things that helped me was that those people were willing to share the information that they've experienced or knowledge that they've gained, and also the different resources that were available. So certainly take advantage of networking and the resources that are out there. And then lastly, I guess it would be finding your why, or the reason why you want to work in this space. Especially in elections, you'll find people that are very passionate about voting. And certainly understanding your own drive can help motivate you to produce your best work. And so for me, I want to share my cybersecurity knowledge to help the community. And a big thing for me was having a specific community that I was speaking to, and making sure that my audience was clear. And so I have those audience. I work to help first responders. I work to help election officials. And that's what motivates me, just being able to help folks. So be clear on what area you want to work on. Use the information that's out there and available, including the people out there who have that knowledge, and really hone in on the reason why you want to work in that space, because it'll get you through some tough days and keep you moving forward.
Right. And as they say, if you do what you're passionate about, you never work a day in your life. Right. Because you love what you do.
Exactly.
So
doesn't feel like work.
Women in some of these areas like cybersecurity and technology, and hopefully we can encourage women to get into those areas, that are traditionally more male. And,
Yeah.
we're seeing some changes now, but hopefully we'll see some more in the future.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I think what happens is they don't know the different areas that cybersecurity can touch, which is almost anywhere, right?
That's right.
So it could be something something else that you're interested in, and you can help keep that initiative or whatever your interest is moving forward, by just sharing your cybersecurity knowledge or researching or anything like that. So totally agree. We
So
definitely
many
need more women in
applications.
this space. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there really are. So, and finally, if you can remember, can you tell us about the first time that you voted?
My first time voting. Wow, yeah. I remember going into a high school, um, and voting on a machine actually, which is interesting because since then I've only experienced paper ballots. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, going in, voting on the machine, I was a little nervous, because this is my first time. I think I just turned 18 that year. It was my first time voting, but I was excited to get in there and do it, because that was around the time when Obama was running for president.
Hmm.
Um, and so, uh,
Historic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they're very, very important for me to be involved and to go in there. Um, didn't honestly didn't know what I was doing. I
Few
was just
people
like,
do, we ought to do more to educate
yeah,
people on what that process is like.
yeah,
With
yeah.
especially young people who've never done it before, I think you do get a little nervous the first time you go to vote and whether you're doing it right. And yeah,
Exactly, exactly. You're kind of standing in a line. They tell you where to go, and then you're in this booth by yourself, and you're trying to act like you know what you're doing, but you're just reading and
right,
hoping you're making the right choice,
that's right.
with the information that you know. So that was really, a really great experience, and a really important for me, like I said, to be involved, at that time. And
And
since
so I
then,
know you recently had a baby. Are you gonna, when she gets to the point where she can go with you to the voting booth, will you
oh
be
yeah.
taking her in there with you?
Oh yeah, she's definitely going to be there, and very familiar with the process. She might be a little too familiar since I'm, heavily involved in elections, but I think that's great, to have the opportunity to share a little bit more about what's going on in the background. Because even when I first started voting at NIST, there's all these acronyms,
Yeah,
and so much that you don't know is happening, within voting, and who's involved, and all the information out there. Even when I became a poll worker, I was a poll worker in Baltimore City. I think you learn another level,
mhm,
there,
that's right.
actually being involved in elections.
Yeah, we
So
always encourage people to become poll workers. If you want to know what's going on, that's one of the best ways, is to go volunteer and be part of the system itself.
yep, yep,
Right.
totally agree, totally agree.
Well, it sounds like you've been involved in a lot of different ways, and we thank you for your advice today and for joining us. And can't wait to see you in person again someday. But thank you for joining us virtually this morning.
Same here, and thank you so much for having me. It was great talking with you, Commissioner McCormick.
Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.